Folks, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depends on where you're joining us from around this big blue marble this afternoon, this evening, or morning. Welcome aboard. My presentation is called Trading the Death Star, and it's going to shock a lot of you. Now, if you don't know what the Death Star is, you don't have nerd children like I do. The Death Star from the Star Wars movies and was that big battle station that essentially was indestructible. Well, kind of got blown up once and they rebuilt it, and now it took over the universe. So the stock that we're going to talk about tonight, I actually call the Death Star because it's literally doing that. It is taking over the universe. Real quick before I get airborne with what we're going to talk about tonight, my personal account, I'm long Amazon with a synthetic collar. I'm long Amazon with a covered call. I'm long Microsoft. I'm short the S&P 500 with some disaster puts out to December, and I'm also short JP Morgan with a bear call spread as a weekly trade. Okay, now if you looked at the top of the screen and you see Top Gun options, you see a fighter jet, you can tell that this presentation is going to have a little bit of that type of background. So let's kick off with that. I have a quick question for you. I'm going to give you two choices, A or B. Which fighter aircraft would you rather fly? And we just had a great weekend down here. Now that we're talking about it, we had a Fort Lauderdale air show this weekend. I got to fly Sunday. We did a 5-ship with a MiG-17 and a bunch of other jets. We had an absolute blast this weekend. So I still got my smile on my face from flying in the air show this weekend. But which aircraft fighter would you rather fly? Take a look at that one. That's your first choice. Take a look at that cockpit, folks. I got to be honest with you. I flew the F-18 Hornet. Glass cockpit. This gives me agita. It's just looking at, folks, this is an F4 Phantom. This is an F4 Phantom, and just take a look at that cockpit, man. Over 300 switches and dials in that cockpit. It's insane. The pilot would spend a lot of time, what we call heads down, in the cockpit, just taking a look at all this stuff instead of what? Eyeballs out. Looking at potential enemy MiG aircraft, SAMs, which are surface-to-air missiles, or AAA, anti-aircraft artillery. As a matter of fact, this jet was so complicated with all that stuff, they actually put another dude in the back seat called a RIO, a radar intercept officer. Now, his job was just to run the damn radar. So, folks, there's your first choice, or this one. There's your second choice. This is the F-35. This is the Joint Strike Fighter called the Lightning II. We had one of these in Fort Lauderdale this weekend. Look at that, folks. 2 flat panel displays. This jet, does anybody see any what we call steam gauges, like in a locomotive in that F4 Phantom? Not one steam gauge in this cockpit. Folks, we call this the Wonder Woman jet. I'm not embarrassed to say about Wonder Woman growing up, like the cartoon, remember? The invisible jet. This jet is literally invisible to radar. It is so advanced, folks, that it actually limits the amount of information that is displayed to the pilot at different portions of the flight. The jet's smart enough to go, hey, why do I have to show the pilot this information right now when it really doesn't need to be shown, and I'm going to hide it? There are so many sensors around this aircraft that if you've ever seen an F-35 pilot's helmet, they do actually, speaking of the Death Star, they look like Darth Vader. The helmet is so advanced, everything is projected up onto the visor. And when they look down, they don't see the jet, folks, or their cockpit or their knees. It goes through, and they see ground. The jet puts a big red bubble around a surface-to-air missile site in their visor, or up in the air, you can see a little enemy MiG with a red dot. It's so advanced, ladies and gentlemen, that obviously, even though the F-4 was a cool-looking airplane and it smoked and it was fast and loud, clearly in today's environment, that's the fighter aircraft you want to fly, the Joint Strike Fighter. Okay, so folks, kicking off a good night of stuff. A lot of great speakers coming up after me. So silence your electronic nicotine, no distractions, because you've never heard what I'm about to tell you. And that's kind of a bold claim. It's the truth. So stand by, because you've never heard what I'm about to tell you. So by the end of this brief, You're going to be up to date with what's going on, man. I give during all of my live trade briefs, you have to talk about what's going on. I'm not giving you 92 PowerPoint slides about what I did 5 years ago. That's ridiculous. Up to date intelligence brief with what's going on with the market, with today's kind of relief, rip your face off rally, and show you the only stock you need to own. You heard me, one. You do not need to own any other stock other than this one. And I'm going to show you a good substitute to trade in case you can't trade the only stock you need to own. Good evening, folks. My name's Matthew Buckley. My call sign is Whiz. I flew the FA-18 Hornet for the United States Navy for about 15 years. I graduated from the Navy Fighter Weapons School, which many of you know as Top Gun, and also flew some combat sorties over Iraq. I was a bad guy. I was a good bad guy. So if you saw the movie Top Gun, you remember Jester and Viper. I was a bad guy. So I was an instructor on being a bad guy. So not only did I have to be a really, really good guy, I had to be a great bad guy. So we would train Navy and Marine Corps squadrons getting ready to go on deployment. So when they got there, it was actually a letdown. I got to be honest with you, my time flying over Iraq was boring compared to going through Top Gun. So had an absolute blast serving my country. And some of you might be sitting there going, well, what the hell does this have to do with trading? Everything, ladies and gentlemen. This has to do with trading. When I grew up in South Jersey, I was kind of a poor Irish Catholic kid, South Jersey, South Philadelphia. Loved the beach, loved the ocean. And my parents instilled the idea of service above self and wanted to serve my country and wanted to be a pilot. So that worked out to be the Navy. But folks, you don't join the Navy to get rich, and you join the Navy to serve your country. But I was always interested in finance. I remember in 1990, now I'm going to age myself, in 1991, I graduated from Jacksonville University down here in Florida as an ensign, and drove down to Naval Air Station Key West. And I remember getting my first check as an officer in the United States Navy and sending like $25 to the USAA Aggressive Growth Mutual Fund. So I was always interested in finance. And guess what I started doing? As a young fighter pilot, I started applying everything that I was learning as a fighter pilot to my investing, to my trading. We have a saying here at Top Gun Options that trading is a form of combat. Think about it. Somebody's going to win and somebody's going to get their rear end handed to them and not have a good day. Which one do you want to be? So whether it was having a strategy, an overarching strategy, implementing tactics that supported that strategy, contingency planning, knowing when to get out of a good or bad situation before it got worse, right? Asking what if, what could go wrong on this mission or in this trade that I can talk about right now instead of freaking out when it goes wrong. Folks, I applied that to my trading and it worked pretty damn well. You know how well it worked? I popped up on the radar of one of the largest volatility arbitrage options trading firms in the world. You see that? That's the Chicago Board of Trade. You see these big, beautiful windows right here? That's what my trading floor was, my trading firm. This was an absolute blast. When I was there, I helped build a hedge fund. I helped build the retail brokerage that many of you know as Options House, which is now got morphed into E-Trade along with everything else. And it's funny because if you're a trader or an investor, or if you've been doing this at all, you've clearly watched the movie Trading Places. So I always jokingly tell people that I felt like Valentine in Trading Places, little old retail trader going up to the big leagues. But I got to be honest with you, man. During my time in Chicago, on Wall Street, London, the smart money ain't that smart. There was a report last week about how retail traders this year have destroyed the hedge fund industry. They completely blew this. And ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to one of the only people on the face of the earth that got the COVID crash right to the day. To the day. Sitting in a live trade brief, Donald Trump in Davos. Remember last year or this year, it was January 22nd. Donald Trump in an interview in Davos what do you know, the guy, it was a throwaway question at the end of the interview. Like, how about this weird thing in China, this flu or something? Trump got pissed. And why are you even asking me? It's not going to come here. I trust Xi, good friend Xi, great backswing, goes to Mar-a-Lago, love Xi. Why you even ask me? It's under control. It's not even, what are you nuts? Move on. I looked into the camera and told every top member to get out of the market, to get into cash, to buy puts on the S&P 500 and get long volatility. We made 27 millionaires. I called it to the day. I knew the intelligence the president was getting. I knew the intelligence the senators and congressmen were getting. And they lied. So I got it right. Wall Street got it wrong. Why am I rambling about this? Because we, ladies and gentlemen, you are the smart money. I've been there. I've gone from being you to being the managing director of a $2.5 billion volatility arbitrage firm, and I was the founder and CEO of the Options News Network, ONN TV. I built that company from me to 80,000 members in under a year. I had an absolute blast, man. It was pretty cool. Okay, finally, down here in South Florida, I'm on the Broward Sheriff's Advisory Council because I think it's an absolute disgrace what half of this country wants to do to the police. And we need to back the women and men who wear a uniform and keep it safe. So I'm on the Broward Sheriff's Advisory Council. Unfortunately, I lost a sister when she was a freshman at Villanova University. And it's a horrific, senseless crime. So I work very, very deeply with MAD at the national level and down here in South Florida. And then this year, I started my own foundation called the Top Gun Fighter Foundation. On average, folks, one veteran per hour. During the hour I'm talking to you, there's a veteran who's going to take their own life. It's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. Since 2008, we've lost more women and men who served on the tip of the spear to suicide at home than we did in combat. It's a heartbreaking statistic. One of my groomsmen in my wedding, man, Eric Swenson, call sign Swede, beautiful wife, 4 daughters, put a bullet in his head a year ago. So I am trying to minimize and eliminate veteran suicide. All right, so that's a little bit about me, folks. Remember, if you go to one of these things and you listen to some dude with 92 PowerPoint slides and you throw some money at it, good luck, man. Wanted to let you know a little bit about me and how I got to where I am before diving into this stuff. So now it's time to go ahead and get airborne. Now, here comes the shocking part, because I guarantee you've never heard this before, right? Or maybe you have. So it's going to be shocking or maybe not. Wall Street is lying to you. I'm going to let that sink in. Now, some of you, half of you are probably sitting there going, duh, and the other half are going, how? How many of you have, since day one of your investing career or life, have you heard this? You can't put all your eggs in one basket. Exactly. Of course you can't, Whiz. Diversification is important in investing. Why diversification is important? The importance of diversification, 5 tips for diversifying. How many of you have heard that, folks? Day one of investing, you heard all of this, didn't you? Right? So I'm about to tell you that's a lie, ladies and gentlemen. It's an absolute lie. Do you know who's lying to you? That dude. Ladies and gentlemen, whenever you hear the term broker, okay, whenever you hear the term broker, I don't care if it's a stock broker, a yacht broker, an aircraft broker, any kind of broker, ladies and gentlemen, how do they get paid? How do brokers get paid? Can somebody tell me? Exactly right, Steve. Commissions. Folks, how many of you have seen the Wolf of Wall Street or Boiler Room or the movie Wall Street, or you name the Wall Street movie, folks? There's a bunch of dudes, it's early in the morning, they're coked out, coffeeed out, smoking cigarettes. The guy comes out and says, pick up the phones, fellas. Let's get the little old ladies in tennis shoes into this stock. Well, we already had her on this side. Nope, today it's this. Folks, it's called churn. They churn your account. Every time you place a trade, I sound like, what's his name from A Wonderful Life. Every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wing. Every time you place a trade, somebody makes a commission. And today, there's actually something called payment for order flow. More you trade, the more the brokers make. Think about it, folks. It's actually an illegal practice called churn. But folks, they want you to trade. They want you in a bunch of different stocks and in and out of it, in and out of it. It's an absolute lie, ladies and gentlemen. I am here to tell you that diversification, well, let me say it in Whiz speak and then I'll clean it up. Diversification is for idiots. A diversified portfolio is for somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. Now let's have somebody say it a little nicer than Whiz would say. Hey man, as I'm a fighter pilot, respectful truth over artificial harmony. We are very direct in the squadron. How about Warren Buffett? Diversification is a protection against ignorance. It makes very little sense for those who know what they're doing. Does that make sense? Everybody give me a vertical head nod. If you think about it for a couple minutes, you do give me a vertical head nod and say, you know what? That's the truth, because it is the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, there is only one stock you need to own for the rest of your life, and it's Amazon. Okay? Now, let's just take a look at some pictures. I'm a political science major, knuckle-dragging Navy fighter pilot. Let's take a look at a picture, like drawings. Look at, and I apologize because I haven't updated this since the last earnings, but ladies and gentlemen, based on the last earnings, this thing would actually look like this. So there you go, I just updated. This is Amazon's revenue, annual revenue. Look at a minimum, I think last year, year-over-year growth, it was like 38%. So folks, how's a picture work for you? so there's their annual revenue growth, okay? How about the annual revenue growth by segment? Let's take a look at by segment. A couple years ago, AWS, folks, back in 2011, 12, I heard about it. I'm like, hey, wow, Amazon's even branching into that. Right now, folks, Amazon Web Services is most likely, I'm going to make a prediction here, will be bigger than Microsoft. Look at its growth. Anybody see a trend here? 2 earnings periods ago, when Google had a big miss, they said in their earnings, they're like, well, we're seeing a big competitor move into the ad space. They didn't mention the big competitor name on their earnings call. It's Amazon. Okay. International and North America. Folks, look at this. AWS wasn't even considered a revenue generating segment, and it's going to do that. Okay. So there is your revenue by segment. Now, this is what's going to interest a lot of you. If you were put in a time machine, let's say 10 years ago, you got put in an investing time machine 10 years ago, and you got dropped into the future right now, the present. And you looked at this and you didn't see the company's name. Would you buy this stock? Yes or no? Look down here, folks. It says profit, free cash flow, and sales. Let's be honest. How many of you 10, 15 years ago folks, in my father and mother stock market, if you had dropped me into the present right now and I saw this, I would short the heck out of it. Why? Look at the profit, folks. I'm going to say this again. This is not your father and mother stock. It's changed. In 2009, when the Federal Reserve jumped into safe capitalism, the stock market in this country changed forever. At the bottom of this COVID crash, when Jerome Powell dropped all the Fed's nuclear weapons. It changed forever. But let's get back to Amazon. I love this chart. You know why? Jeff Bezos, ladies and gentlemen, has said this about profit. I don't want to make a penny. What? You heard me. Jeff Bezos says, if I make a penny, I'm spending it. I'm taking it and doing something with it. I'm going to buy a competitor. I'm going to put a competitor out of business. I'm going to innovate. I'm going to launch satellites. The guy has already told people, I don't want to make a profit. He has also said what? He can't even pronounce the word dividend. He's like, a dividend? Why would I give money, quote, back to the shareholders? If I have money left over, they're not getting it back. I'm using it. So in old stock market, folks, looking at this chart, you'd go, I'm going to short the heck out of this thing. Wrong. And you'd be wrong. Okay. How about Amazon Prime Day? This year, folks, and again, I need to update it. They haven't come out with formal numbers. It's up here. That's a good looking chart. But also, folks, what happened? This year, it's almost like it's becoming a holiday. Kind of like even if you're going to overnight something in the US mail, what do you say you're going to do? I'm going to FedEx it. Amazon Prime, the Prime Day, is starting to come into America's lexicon. It's starting to become a thing. And trust me, Walmart, Target, all those type of folks are trying to play catch up. When you become kind of a holiday in this country to shop, I think you kind of have established a pretty big. Okay, so there's the pictures. Here's some of my whatever. These are some good testimonials. I hate wasting a ton of time on these things, but we have members who are literally printing money with our Amazon trades. $51,000. This is a June of 2021 trade. Dennis is up 145 grand. Mr. Parmar, Sam, made 80 grand. I like this one from Kevin. Cumulative Amazon gains net out to $12,673, which is nicer than it seems since I started 6 grand in the hole before following with his discipline correctly. Okay, Greg, my Amazon long call diagonal is up 28 grand from yesterday to over $38,000 today. These are all recent case studies, okay? Now, before I sit here and sing sunshine, lollipops, and unicorns and everything super fun, fantastic, which would be a failure on my part because I'm a trader, I'm a fighter pilot. I am a glass half empty man. We as fighter pilots, as options traders, always look at the bad. So if it doesn't happen, we're pleasantly surprised. I don't sit here smiling and going, hey, I'm going to be awesome on this mission over Syria today. Ain't nothing bad going to happen to me. And then you get shot down. Wrong. So let's take a look at some of the risks of trading a solo stock, just one name. What are some of the risks? Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Stocks can go to zero. Anybody remember a small financial company called Lehman Brothers? A 150-year-old company to zero. Anybody remember Bear Stearns? Jim Cramer remembers Bear Stearns. Jim Cramer, one of his freak out days during the financial crisis, he looked like Khrushchev at the UN. Crazy bald dude pounding his shoe on a table about how Bear Stearns is a steal at $70. Your money's safe at Bear Stearns. 2 days later, it was at zero. Nice job, Jim. How about Pets.com? How about Enron? Folks, I could sit here for the rest of my time together and rattle off company after company after company that has gone to zero. I may or may not know somebody who has owned stocks that have gone to zero. I shall remain nameless. But I owned right in like 1999, 2000, just as the internet bubble was popping, it was called e-lottery. E-lot was the symbol. You could buy, they were going to buy lottery tickets in every state and like, so whatever, $8, $9, $10 stock. I'm like, okay. And then $9, $8, $7 stock, buy some more. I love it at 5. And so I've been there, man. Stocks, ladies and gentlemen, can go to 0. But take a look at the 4 examples I just gave you. Does anybody see a common theme between all? What's the common theme between these names? Anybody? Can anybody tell me? Yeah, the common theme between all of these names is what? They didn't own anything. Enron, ladies and gentlemen, didn't even own the building they were in. They were a middleman of electricity. Okay. Pets.com owned Pets.com, a URL and a stinky sock. Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns owned air. By the sign of that first picture, it looks like they didn't even own the damn sign over the door. Folks, they owned paper. And when there was a run on Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers, hey, Whiz, what's up, man? What do you think about Bear Stearns? I'm not hearing good, man. I already closed out all my positions with them. I don't know if they're good for it. What? Yeah, I did. Oh, why didn't you tell me? Hey, Bear Stearns. Oh, it's a run on those guys. So, folks, stocks can go to 0, but the main difference is they didn't own anything. Does anybody see what Amazon owns? Come on now. I mean, full disclosure, years ago when I got out of the Navy, I flew for FedEx for 10 months. I hated it. Could not stand showing up to Memphis at midnight and flying until 8 in the morning and trying to sleep in the day. It was brutal. Okay, so what happened? 5, 6 years ago, a buddy of mine who was in corporate at FedEx, he called me. He's like, dude, just talked to a buddy of mine at GE Aircraft Leasing. Jeff Bezos leased like 5 jets. I'm like, he's going to do it. He's going to do it on his own, man. He's going to build. Why? Who is it? Carnegie? No, Rockefeller, Vanderbilt. One of those old dudes. What did he do back in the day? I remember there was a famous story. He's like standing there watching the oil pop out of the wells, and all of a sudden they get loaded in barrels. Then they get put on a truck. Then he saw them drive down to the railroad. He's like, what am I doing? Why don't I buy the damn barrels, the trucks, and the railroads, man? Rockefeller, thank you, TS. Folks, Amazon owns things. I was in Houston the beginning of last week for a Warrior Health Foundation event for Navy SEALs, Green Beret Rangers with traumatic brain injury. And driving out the range, we passed an Amazon fulfillment center. It was bigger than an aircraft carrier. Amazon Air, these fulfillment centers. Did you see what happened a couple of weeks ago? Amazon Pharma. You want a good stock to short or 3 stocks? CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid. Every space that Amazon moves into, they take it over. In a year to 2 years from now, you will get a text or your doorbell will ring. You'll open the door, a little drone will be hovering right there, scan your face, and a prescription will drop out. Fact. Pharma, health, what else? Space. Jeff Bezos, Morgan Stanley estimates that the Jeff Bezos, he wants to put 3,200 satellites into low Earth orbit. Morgan Stanley says $250 billion a quarter in potential revenue with that satellite project. Folks, I'm not going to sit here for the rest of my time together and tell you everything that we're getting into, but it's a machine. You ready? It's the Death Star. What are some other threats? Well, maybe for a little while longer, but this guy wasn't he? 3 years ago, I'll never forget, because I've been trading Amazon like crazy. Donald Trump woke up, or he didn't go to bed, depends on who you believe, and he grabbed his phone and took a flamethrower to Jeff Bezos and Amazon, and they're screwing the post office, and it's Monopoly and the Washington, just a Trump diarrhea tweet storm, which we all became used to. You know what happened? The stock retreated a little bit, like, oh my God, that's awful. Then what happened? Nothing. What happened about 6 months ago? The same thing. Trump went nuts about Jeff Bezos and Amazon and sticking it to the post office and their monopolies. Something should happen. What happened? Nothing. What's going to happen? Nothing. That's the way it is. I mean, you look at all the quote bad press that comes out of Amazon, it's okay. Now, let me tell you something, folks. Here at Top Gun Options, I wear 2 suits. I'm going to tell you how I feel as an American, as a fighter pilot, as an American. I'm not feeling too good as an American right now, but I'm going to tell you how I feel as an American. As an American, I think it's a disgrace. I think Jeff Bezos, the world's richest man, paying his employees not even a living wage, not even giving them proper protective gear. It is a monopoly. It's a disgrace. Then I'm going to get out of my flight suit and I'm going to put on a $10,000 Armani and turn into this guy and tell you I don't care. I think Jeff Bezos should cut everybody's pay because there's more unemployed people in this country who need a job. I go Gordon Gekko on this thing. I want it to be a monopoly. Oh, and by the way, if you broke up Amazon right now, folks, the parts would be worth more than the whole. If you broke up Amazon Air, AWS, all these other things that they're in, they'd take over that space. So it's kind of like mercury on your desk. You try and smash Amazon, it's going to shatter and it's going to take over more. Remember, I'm old enough to remember Standard Oil, AT&T, IBM, Microsoft. Do you guys remember some of these quote antitrust things? Do you know how long even to get to like a letter from the FTC, like, we believe this? It's an average of 10 years. It takes on, was it Standard or the Bells was like 5 years. Microsoft, I think, was like, whatever it is, folks. I read a great article. They're like, even if the government one day woke up and tried to do something, you're looking at a decade at least. And last time I checked, I'm fairly certain that the richest guy in the world probably has more attorneys on the face of the planet than anybody in the world, right? So I'm not concerned with the antitrust issues. As a matter of fact, if they broke it, you want to talk about diversity? There's your diversification, folks. Okay. Now, if it broke up, it would be diversified, and I'd buy each of the individual companies, but it's not going to happen. Okay. Now that I briefed the threats of just trading Amazon, what's the benefit? Well, clearly, you're going to trade the same name and you're going to profit no matter what direction Amazon goes, up, down, or sideways, right? Does that make sense? You stay focused on the news and events that impact Amazon instead of a bunch of different stocks and ETFs. You become an expert in Amazon, reducing all the time you spend on other positions. Folks, I live down here in God's waiting room down here in Boca Raton, Florida. And a buddy of mine, he's a orthopedic surgeon. The guy works his rear end off, man. 10, 12-hour days, office hours, surgery. Came to Top Gun years ago, 2-3 years ago, and he's like, hey, let's meet at Starbucks, and I want you to take a look at my portfolio. See, take a look. I'm like, all right, man, sure. So we sit down, grabbing my venti upside down caramel macchiato, non-fat, and after he boots up his computer and pulls his brokerage platform up, he spins the computer around. Thank God he's a doctor, because when I saw his trading screen, I passed out, almost hit my head and died. I'm almost not kidding. You ready for this, folks? 33 positions. This man had 33 positions in his brokerage platform. Ladies and gentlemen, I do this for a living. 5, 10, I run 4 portfolios at Top Gun Options, and I am busier than a one-armed paper hanger in a contest, however that goes. It was insane He tried to even brief. He's like, well, I think this one's a pot stock. I don't know what it is. But anyway, let me move on to the next thing. I'm like, you don't know what that is, and it's in your portfolio. My heart started. I'm like, do you have like a defibrillator with you? Well, this one, it's been hammered for years. I'm just waiting for it to come back, and then I'll sell it. I'm like, you know it's coming back. It's been down for years, but you're just, okay, man. I'm like, dude, Doc, stop talking. 33 positions, folks. I'm telling you, it is 5 to 10. In that multi-billion-dollar trading firm that I helped run, we had a research desk, folks. We had like 20, 25 research analysts whose own, some of them, their only job was tracking one name. And guess what? They got it wrong. A couple times I was like, your only job is to follow this name and you got the earnings completely wrong, or you didn't know about this. I'm like, okay. I have a buddy who is an Apple market maker. And I'm not joking when I tell you, he doesn't know a stock market exists. He doesn't care. He's like, Whiz, what's this VIX you speak of? What's this? He doesn't care. He eats, breathes, sleeps Apple. So folks, imagine simplifying your day, your life. All you care about is this. So stop flying around in a portfolio like this. It's shocking to me. Before we all got thrown in COVID prison and we used to go do live events, I'd bump into people like this. Hey, can you take a look at some of my positions? I'm like, I can't. You're flying an F4 fan. I can't. Go transition to the F35. Now, if you're sitting here going, man, this sounds exactly what I need to be doing with my life, but Whiz, I'm not completely, the diversification chip has been implanted in my head by Wall Street and I got to diversify. All right, you ready? How about this? In this service called Solo Amazon, we also trade an ETF called XLY. This is the consumer discretionary ETF. Why would I trade this instead of Amazon? Hello, what is the #1 holding of this diversified ETF? It would be Amazon. Okay. How about this for diversification? Home Depot, which has been crushing it. Mickey D's, Nike, Lowe's, Starbucks, Target, Booking, TJX, Dollar General. Hello, diversification. So in this service called Solo Amazon, I actually put in like parentheses after it, Solo Amazon and XLY. Because folks, Amazon ain't cheap. It's a $3,100 stock. XLY, $100 and whatever, $20, $50 ETF. Isn't that, yeah, this is awesome. Thank you. This is absolutely great. So how do we target Amazon and XLY for max profit or minimum loss? Step 1, so our Solo Amazon briefs are every Monday at 2 p.m. This coming Monday at 2 p.m. after we all have a great Thanksgiving weekend, unless you're in California and then you might get arrested, or Oregon. In the state of Oregon, in the United States of America, you can smoke crack and do cocaine legally, but if you have 7 people in your house for Thanksgiving, you're going to jail. Welcome to America, where crack, heroin, marijuana, and all that stuff is legal, but having 7 people to give thanks is a crime. I had to get that in. On Monday, I'm going to show you, we're going to establish what I call a base position. I flew in a couple Marine squadrons, amphibious warfare. So we will establish a beachhead. I'm going to hop in that F-35 and I am going to fly out into the future. With options, ladies and gentlemen, you can fly out into the future 2 years from now and get bullish on Amazon, right? That tactic is either called a synthetic stock or a long call diagonal. Now, I wouldn't be a good fighter, pilot, or options trader if I didn't also show you what I do with these tactics. I have protective puts, okay? Amazon ain't going to zero, folks. If Amazon goes to zero, you're not going to care about it because we're all dead in a nuclear explosion. I'm not kidding. Amazon, it's physically impossible for a stock who owns a ton of stuff to go to zero, okay? Now, protective puts help me with margin, and it also helps me in case I need to sleep better at night. I know Amazon ain't going to zero, but I'm going to show you how I use protective puts to hedge our position. Ladies and gentlemen, I never ran out to the F-18 Hornet, climbed up to get into the cockpit and looked at the ejection seat and said, hey, Chief, do me a favor and pull that ejection seat out. I don't need it. I'm awesome today. I'd rather have the 800 pounds of gas. Pull the ejection seat out, Chief. Anybody in this room think that I would do something like that? Of course not, right? After we establish a base position, we're going to trade the front months. If you're sitting there going, I don't know what a front month is, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about options. But guess what? You're sitting in a front month. What's the front month? November, December, January. So on your screen right now, ladies and gentlemen, guess what we've already done? If I teach you how to get long-term bullish out into the future with Amazon, and then we start trading the front months, guess how many trades that is right now, or positions? We're already at 2, folks, right? Does that make sense? Okay, so up, down, or sideways, I'm going to teach you how you can potentially profit with Amazon and XLY. Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to bring up my brokerage platform, and we can take a look. So I can show you exactly what I am doing. So go this. Okay, open up here, and here we go. Share screen. And my brokerage platform. Great. Okay, here we go, folks. So, and here's what I got to be honest with you, man. Let me go back to my flight suit versus Gordon Gekko suit. Look at this. Here's January earnings. What happens in January? Amazon comes out and says, we destroyed Christmas. We own it. We patent it. We own it. It was incredible. That's what happens almost every January. Amazon says, holy crap. So look at this. January, Amazon was getting ready to rock it. And there's the COVID crash for Amazon. Anybody notice anything about the COVID crash, quote unquote crash with Amazon? It was a hiccup. Why? Because everybody started to realize that we're all stuck in COVID prison, buying with our stimulus checks, or some of us didn't get those. We funded other people's stimulus checks. The COVID crash was the best thing to happen to Amazon. And I don't, again, in my flight suit, it's heartbreaking. In my flight suit, I want the malls to be open. You know, it's insane how good the stuff has been to Amazon, right? Now we've kind of leveled off here. I'm telling you, if we get another second lockdown, Amazon's going to rocket higher. And this is a great seasonal time to get long Amazon right now. Usually around Thanksgiving, folks, I actually have a calendar reminder. If I'm not long, every November 1st, there it is. I have a calendar reminder that pops up and says, put your seasonal trades on, okay? So it is time to get long Amazon. I actually got this wrong. A year ago, I said, by my birthday, Amazon will be a $3,000 stock. In case you're asking when my birthday is, it's December 31st of this year. I got that wrong. Amazon hit 3,000 in September. Okay, so actually let me show you my current Amazon position. It's my real account, one of my real accounts. I have 2 personal accounts that I trade. And here is my Amazon, man. I have what is called synthetic stock on. What's synthetic stock? Synthetic stock, ladies and gentlemen, the word synthetic, all it means is you don't get 2 things. You don't get to vote and you don't get a dividend. Well, we already covered this. You don't get a dividend because Jeff Bezos doesn't want to give you a dividend because he's smart, and nobody cares about your shareholder vote at Amazon. Jeff Bezos and his wife own it. You have 0 say in what goes on at Amazon. Well, exactly. So Profit Club said, why then did Bezos himself say Amazon could go bankrupt? Because he analyzed the future. Profit Club, you ready for this? You're right. Amazon will fail. Folks, I meditate, I do hot yoga. I am going to die. Profit Club is going to die. Jeff Bezos is going to die. Amazon's going to die. It will not happen in my lifetime. I guarantee it. So he's right, because it was like 6 months ago or whenever somebody asked him, he said, oh, of course Amazon's going to fail. And people went crazy. And then he's like, what are you talking? Hello, what are you, stupid? Everything fails, folks. Everything ends. That's the guys at Standard Whip and Buggy, you know, about that Model T Ford coming down the road. Come on, guys. Everything fails. Of course, Amazon's going to go to zero. I'm talking about in our lifetime. It is not going to happen. It's going to be an absolute behemoth. You ready for this? So on Monday, I'm going to teach you. See this options chain right here? You can fly look how far into the future we can fly. We can fly all the way out to the future, January of 2023, and get bullish. That's what I did, right? Let me show you that synthetic stock position. It is out to January of 2023. I have 2 years essentially for this trade to work out. You want to write this down? Amazon will be a $6,000 stock minimum by January of 2023. I got 3K, well, I got 3K wrong. I said by my birthday, it did it in September. Amazon will be $6,000 in 2 years. Now, like I said, we also trade XLY. XLY is a good proxy, but let's see how they perform against each other. It's the consumer discretionary ETF. Let's take a look at year to date. Little bit bigger of a COVID crash, wasn't it? Because what's in there? McDonald's, Starbucks, and all these other companies. I mean, McDonald's and Starbucks physically were closed for a couple months, right? And then, well, let's just overlay the two. Compare Amazon to XLY. Little bit of outperformance, wouldn't you say? But it still is a pretty good proxy to trade Amazon, because like I said, it's a $3,000 stock and not exactly cheap. So we also trade XLY in this service. So Monday at 2, I'm going to show you how to establish a base position. And again, folks, and I'll do it with XLY as well. I do kind of parallel trades. I show you how to get
Uh-oh, I think we lost Matt here.
Yeah, it looks like he.
Let's see if he's gonna hop back on.
Yeah, I'm watching.
Mm-hmm.
All right, everyone. Yeah, so Matt looks like he just got kicked out of the room. So we're just gonna wait a minute for him to log back in. Okay, looks like he's back in now. So I'm upgrading him to presenter.
David, can you hear me?
Hey Matt, you back? Yep.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, sounds good.
Oh, sweet. Okay, sorry about that. We had a power surge or something, man. So
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
yeah, I'm alive, so everybody don't freak out. All right, let me click share here so we can get back on track, and then we'll wrap up because I know you guys got a lot of folks talking. Okay, everybody got my screen? We good?
Yeah, looks good.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that. Yeah, down here in South Florida, man, you get some of these. That was a bolt of lightning. Maybe I didn't go to church this week. All right, real quick, folks. Yeah, exactly. It was Amazon's not going to. Amazon. So you ready for this? Amazon will go to zero. Let me clean that up. It will not happen in our lifetime. It's a fact. When you own assets, folks, those assets cost something, right? Airplanes, warehouses, satellites. So, everything will go to zero. You will go to zero. Unfortunately, it's not a pleasant conversation to have, but I think everybody understands it. Remember, at the beginning, I said it's the one stock you need to own for the rest of your life, not the lifetime of Amazon. So, all right, quick. Solo Amazon is the name of this trading service here. We're having an absolute blast. We have hundreds of members in the service. It's our least expensive service here, Topkin Options. I do 4 other live trade briefs throughout the week, and those are about $167 a month for access, and they're all skill-based. We have a retirement one, we have a weekly option service, we have 4 different skill-based services. This is the only one that trades one name, 1.5, let's call it, Amazon and XLY. So how about this? $97 a month. $97 a month. After I get done this brief, I'm actually heading up to Delray Beach, meeting a hedge fund buddy of mine in Delray on the Avenue. I guarantee you I'm going to get a nice bottle of wine, and it's going to be a little bit more than $97. I guarantee you. So $97. There's the link right now, folks. TopkinOptions.com/solo-Amazon-monthly. $97 a month. And if you hang on a second, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen if you want to do an annual. I'll give you a discount. I'll give you a discount of 25% if you want to do an annual. Okay, and I'll give you that link in a couple seconds. David, hooked me up by putting that in the chat box. TS, Amazon will be at 3,500 by my birthday of December. Folks, remember, we haven't even started yet. We haven't even started our Christmas rally. Today might have been a little bit of a Christmas rally, but not like in earnest. Okay, real quick performance up over 6 figures year to date in the portfolio of 140 in Amazon, down 24 in the XLY. That was at the bottom of the market, like February or March when the market turned. I missed a couple there, but hey, man, you always got to show losing trades and not just sit here and tout all your winners, because that's just not the right thing to do. But with Amazon, we're absolutely printing money. Whiz, I work 2 o'clock every Monday. I can't attend. Folks, 80% of our members work and they can't attend. But guess what? I send out a time-sensitive text and email alert whenever I find a new trade to add to the portfolio. There's an example. There's a screenshot of a recent text alert. And then I also send out an email that has a screenshot of the trade along with the risk parameters of the trade, max potential loss, max potential profit, and it's good stuff. And the replay is posted 30 minutes after the brief. So as soon as I get done, as soon as I close the window, I render the recording, and it takes, about 30 minutes for the replay to render, and then I'll post that on the member page, okay? Today, I'm also gonna throw in the proprietary materials, or primary, intermediate, and advanced workbooks. Folks, these are your building blocks. If you're new to options or relatively new, or even if you're a Jedi Master, these things will help you out. You'll get your brain on. You need them. Primary, intermediate, advanced. So for all the Marines and political science majors like me in the audience, let me help you with some math. If it's $97 for a month, and if you went to my website right now to buy these manuals, you'd pay $197. So how many Marines do we have right now? Let me do the math for you. That means you're actually making $100 there in your pocket, because I'm throwing in these manuals that are almost $200. That's on me, okay? You need these though. These are your flight manuals. You kind of need these, okay? So, all right, here's what you get. Access to the Solo Amazon Live Trade Brief. It's every Monday at 2. The text and email alerts, you get the 3 skill-based manuals, and you get access to our online forum that we call the Ready Room. Okay? The Ready Room of the Fighter Squadron is where you go to hang out and you know, interact. I learned more about flying and fighting the F-18 in the Ready Room than I did from a book. Surinder made 200 grand in Amazon on 20 call contracts. Kevin, Amazon synthetic stock, late to enter, up 200%. He paid 8, up to 24. Dwayne, doing some good work. Doug, look at this. We're 26 grand. Jim, Jan 21 leaps, almost up 500%. I love how he wrote this. I know pigs get slaughtered, but how do I maximize my profit? Guess what my answer was? Take it. Dennis, we talked about Dennis earlier. He's been doing some good work in our Solo Amazon service. Diane, up 70 grand with 1 contract. Scott, hey Whiz, up $20,000 in 2 weeks, 2 September, 2 October. Amazon calls this week. I've never been there. Patience, persistence. Thanks, TGO. Okay, so here's what I'll do. If you want to do an annual membership today, I will give you a 25% discount. So there you go, 25% discount on an annual membership. That's pretty easy. Type that URL. It's topgunoptions.com/solo annual. Okay, solo annual. Okay, I think that was right there. There we go. And we'll put that in the chat box. So there you go. David already put that in the chat box there. Okay, solo annual will get you to the Solo annual. It's only $897 for a year. Do me a favor, folks. This is kind of a must here. You need to do. It's kind of, speaking of Amazon, when you go to make your purchase, do me a favor. You have got to take the full throttle training. The full throttle training, it's only $195. Other places are charging a couple grand for this. It's insane. Here's your flight course right here, man. If you don't know what a call or a put is, session 1. Session 2, we take a building block approach all the way down to advanced tactics. These are hour and a half live sessions to complement the manuals, folks. Like I said, there's people out there charging thousands of dollars for the stuff, which is insane, but only $195 to get you up to speed with how to trade options. Okay, so Solo Amazon newest live trading service. Everything else is usually $167. We're going to hook you up with 97, and there is Solo-Amazon-monthlies. Folks, hopefully you learned something tonight. If you didn't, I failed miserably. But a lot of you, I guarantee you, based on, I've been teaching people how to trade options for about 15 years. I've been trading on my own for about 30 years. I guarantee you there's a ton of people in this room right now who are either over trading or you're over diversified, folks. Focus on one. Imagine how simple your trading life would be if only you had to do is worry about this, right? I love when I get into live trade briefs every once in a while. People are like, hey, what about this semi stock? I'm like, I have no idea what it is. I don't trade it. I love how people in these presentations like get asked about a name and they put a chart up. Does anybody in this room, does anybody trade with a broker that lets you trade off the left side of a chart? No, it's a rhetorical question, folks. You don't, I'm a card counter, man. If I'm going to add something new to my portfolio, I don't walk up to a table in Vegas, sit down and start betting, man. I stand there, I count the deck. If I'm going to even look at a new name ever in my life, I watch it for about a month, folks. This isn't, you got to be smart. So why not simplify your trading cockpit with Amazon or XLY? A lot of folks do that. With smaller portfolios, they kind of build up their ammo trading the XLY, and then they eventually get up to trading Amazon. It's a great service. We have a lot of fun. It's every Monday at 2 o'clock, and I think everybody's going to enjoy it. Yeah, and folks, if you look at a recent chart of Amazon, it's kind of flattish. It's getting ready for liftoff, folks. We get another lockdown. I saw earlier in the week a retail association or whatever the association was. They're saying on average 50 to 75% of this year's Christmas shopping will be done online. I mean, my daughter still drags me to the mall to let her hang out and walk with her friends, but it looks like a graveyard, man. So I think this will be the best Christmas for Amazon. So even though the chart might not be in fuego right now, it's getting ready for liftoff. And we start hearing a lot more about Amazon Pharma. You can kiss Rite Aid, CVS, and Walgreens goodbye. So it's just, and again, the low Earth satellite orbit thing that Jeff Bezos wants to do, free internet for people in the middle of the Sahara, the dude's taking over the world, okay? All right, sorry about the little glitch there in the middle here. I think I got struck by lightning. I'm living, but have a great rest of your night. Make sure you stick around and listen to the follow-on speakers. I know the guys from Alpha Shark and some of the other folks that are coming up, really 500-pound heads in the space, and I respect them a lot. So thanks for having me, David and Anka. I appreciate it, and God bless. Everybody have a safe and happy Thanksgiving, and I'll talk to you all later.